This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. This discussion is around building teams in business, 9 key points. So bear with me in this. And obviously, I'd love your feedback on it, 773-766-5322. And I'll go through 9 quick points. First, we're going to dispel the myth of the solopreneur. We've talked about this a lot. I happen to be a believer that if you're building anything substantial, you better be building teams, and I don't really see a way around that. It is what it is. Second, double down on your best people and your best leaders. You need great people, you need great leaders, and you need to constantly identify these people, double down on them, and grow around them. We often say about people, professional relationships, and so forth, double down, stay the course, or abandon. We have a separate podcast on that concept, but double down on trying to take care of and help your best people and your best leaders. Third is always look to promote and raise people and take care of them proactively. Don't wait until they're so irritated with how they're getting paid or how they're getting treated that they want to leave for greener pastures. The underpaid person who wants the job, there's also this concept that sometimes you could hire people really cheap, and I would tell you not to. You better pay them what they're worth, even if they don't think they're worth that, because sooner or later they'll realize it and go elsewhere anyways. The fourth concept we talk about, and it goes to the solopreneur concept, is that with teams, you could have great, great success. Any of the great entrepreneurs of our generation or prior generations, none of them are solopreneurs. They might have big business brands, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gateses, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musks, but all of them were built great, great teams to have great success. Fifth, without teams, there's very limited success. The sixth concept I get is to build a serious company, you've got to grow a serious group of leaders. I tell the story often of sitting on 2 boards early in my career. One of those boards had 1 A-plus phenom. The second company had 5 A-plus and A leaders. The second company stayed in business for 40-plus years. The first company was sold and disappeared. You just can't do it with 1 A-plus player, no matter how great that player is. You better be building serious teams and serious leadership with squads. So that's the sort of 6th point here. The 7th point is in sorting out people, and this almost goes to the double down, stay the course, or abandon category. I almost always break this down into about a third, a third, and a third. A third of people on a team are basically indispensable. You want to ride or die with them, have them with you forever. A third are great contributors, and you really want them around. The last third, or the last 10%, you could live without, and it would be fine if they left or you fired them and moved on, replaced them with better people, that you're not using up seats on people that aren't really contributing to the goal of whatever the organization is. So that's the third rule. The 8th thing we talk about is this concept of not prejudging. With people and that you work with, you never really know what you have until you've worked with somebody for a while. So I'll give you an example. I've worked over the years with a lot of different producers with the company that I work with at Executive Podcast Solutions, a lot of them. And if you would have told me when I started working with the one I work with currently that she would be my favorite of all time, I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have known that. But within a period of time, the work ethic, the professionalism, the responsiveness was second to none. And if you make the mistake of prejudging, you would never have got there with working with that person. And this has been my experience throughout my professional life. I remember one time our law firm hired these 3 beautiful patrician guys, and the law firm said, well, these people are going to be leaders because they sort of looked like leaders. And of course, I was like, they might look like leaders, but what the heck are those guys? And they're good folks. Don't get me wrong, but they were prejudged as though they were going to be great. And the flip side is so many people come along. We had at one time 3 private equity partners. It turned out one of those 3 ended up being an absolute superstar. And we would have never known that up front, but over a couple of years, we really were able to sense that this guy was just an absolute superstar. And the other 2 were great, but this one was a whole different level, playing a whole different game. And it is what it is. That's a guy named Jeff Cockrell. So that's sort of 8. Don't prejudge your people. You just don't know what you have until you've worked with somebody for a while, and so that's the story. That's one of the stories we have. The 9th thing I'll say about teams is that depending on what you're trying to do as a company, you probably need a certain size team because it's very hard to run what you want to do without a certain size team. The flip side is if you're trying to run a certain type of business to business, you might not need a 100-person sales team. You might need a 10-person sales team, whatever it might be. But you need to figure out the size team you need for what you're trying to accomplish as well. Again, these are building teams, 9 different thoughts. We hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoy recording it. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. Thank you very, very much.